Right, this is my first reaction review of Avengers Age of Ultron. It's just come out this week in England, and first of all I'd say it's one of the best sequels that Marvel have produced to date. My favourite is Captain America Winter Soldier, but this is definitely a very close second. It builds on the first film in every way, and it's got the humour, it's got the action, everything you expect from a Marvel movie, and it's very well balanced in that sense. First of all, I want to talk about the film versus the comic, because obviously Age of Ultron was a comic first. Now I know they've only kind of taken Ultron as a character and the title, but it's still an Avengers story, so I just want to say that I prefer the movie. The plot of the movie is far simpler. In the comic it's all sort of time travel. They have a kind of very cliched, oh let's go back in time to kill Hank Pym before he creates Ultron. Oh, it's messed up the present. But I didn't like that. So this one is a lot better. It's obviously set in one time zone, and they're just out to get Ultron after they've created him and realised they made a horrible mistake. Now, the main thing with this film though, that my main criticism is most of it kind of comes out of nowhere. So for example, Ultron as a villain, obviously people who know the comic know Ultron, people who know Hank Pym know Ultron, people who've watched a lot of the trailers may do, but if you think of this from a concept of people who may not have watched the trailers or clips to try and keep themselves fresh, may not have read the comics, going to this, Ultron is this big bad who just kind of springs out of nowhere. He's not been set up in any of the other films, and it's a bit weird because, you know, they could have used Iron Man 3 to set him up very well. Obviously Stark could have started creating this AI rather than doing the weird plot with a fake Mandarin, but they didn't. So it's just kind of in this one, it feels like they needed a villain between Loki and Thanos, because they weren't ready for Infinity War yet because they hadn't set it up, and they're like, right, who's kind of big enough that people are like, oh yeah, Ultron, he'll do. And there are a lot of bits in the film that kind of come out now, like the beginning, it just kind of starts, and they're all the Avengers, they're all just set up as the Avengers, and it's fine, they're just a team. It's like they've been working together for months, but when we last saw them, Iron Man was kind of hanging up his suits, Captain America was off to see the final Winter Soldier, Black Widow, she was kind of give state evidence to go, oh you need me. So they weren't really a cohesive team at that time, yet when you see this movie start, they are. And that's really weird for me, because it's like, well, hang on a minute, I was kind of looking forward to seeing how they get the team back together, based on all the really downbeat endings, but it just starts on a high. They're on this action sequence, which is a great action sequence, really well played, again very funny, but also great action set pieces there. But that just felt a bit sudden, a bit abrupt. It felt like jumping onto a roller coaster in the middle of the ride, and that was kind of a bit of a downside for me. Also the little bits within the film, like Black Widow can now sort of calm the Hulk down with this routine they've apparently worked out at some point before the film starts. I know they may do a prequel comic or something like that, but I shouldn't have had to read the comic to watch the film. That's a criticism for me, because the film should stand on its own merits, and Marvel have been so hot on their continuity and setting things up that was kind of a bit of a downside for me. But, you know, I did enjoy it. Ultron as a villain, James Spader is absolutely brilliant. He's really good in the part, he's really sinister and menacing. There's also a lot of humour to his character, which sometimes can get a bit overplayed, a bit OTT, and a bit too kind of human and slapstick. But I really enjoyed it. I was very aware I was watching a Disney Marvel movie, so I didn't really mind it too much, but I can see that some people might not like that. So yeah, Ultron was really good. His motivations are typical kind of sci-fi evil AI, I must destroy humanity to save the world kind of mentality, which has been done a million times before, but it's just a springboard and Whedon uses it very well. The plot that Ultron has, because obviously that hasn't been in any of the trailers or the clips, is a bit crazy. I don't want to spoil it for you, because obviously you want to see the film, but it's just kind of, it's brilliantly simple, incredibly complicated, utter genius and utter madness all in one. So I'm not sure how I feel about that, because on one hand it's really dumb. It's like they've got the Hulk in charge of plans, you know, it's like Hulk smash kind of mentality, but in order to pull it off it's a very difficult thing to do. So I kind of like the plot, but it was kind of silly when you find out what his plan is to destroy humanity. You sit there and go, really? That? Awesome, but really? So, you know, you might like it, I quite liked it, but also I don't really know how I feel about it, because it was kind of like, it was very strange. It, you know, the army of robots he created I thought would be the plot, but it's not. It's something very different than that. There is a character death in this film, though being a comic book movie, there's no kind of guarantee of how permanent that death will be. But again, with Whedon, he always does this, and at first it's kind of novel, but now it's kind of like, okay, Joss, I'm sat here and I'm looking at the screen, I'm guessing who's going to die. I'm looking at all of them going like, oh, he's needed for the next film, he's contractually obligated to be in the next film. Oh, he's kind of expendable, you know, and I'm doing that throughout the movie, and I shouldn't be doing that. I should be watching the film, enjoying the film, and then when a character dies, go, oh my goodness, I did not see that coming. So maybe he needs to leave that alone for a bit, not kill somebody off, and then we can kind of not expect it when it does happen in another movie. So that, you know, it's well done. It's a good moment when it happens, and it's a very heroic moment, but he needs to stop doing that for a little while so we don't expect it when it happens. The action is brilliant. Joss Whedon just has this way with action sequences where they flow really well. Even the big ensemble set pieces are brilliant. You know, you always know where people are, they're always really easy to follow, you know how each scene plays into the other. And he has this great shot he uses where it kind of flows from one character to another to tie all of these disparate scenes together. And he uses it a few times, but because he knows how to use it and when to use it, it works really well each time. So that is brilliant. And again, the action is bigger, it's more global, the Hulk scene is amazing, and the final ensemble fight is incredible. So yeah, he really does it well, and he knows when to time the humour. Again, one of my friends was like, oh, I don't really like the humour in these places, it's kind of character breaking, but I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well balanced when it was used. The humour, again, I really liked throughout the film. So a lot of people, it'll split you, but I really liked it, and I thought the characters used, you've got Hawkeye's very sardonic and witty, and everyone's kind of got this sense of they're in a battle zone and they're making humour to kind of make themselves feel better, to feel braver, and that's a very human element. And again, Whedon likes those human characteristics in people. They're not just big cookie cutter kind of heroes, they do have heart, and you feel that is covering up the fear that they're feeling. Talking about characters, Black Widow and Hulk have a really nice kind of romantic tension. Banner is brilliant as always. There's more Hulk in this, but also Banner, I think he has a really nice kind of part in this film, and him with Black Widow, the reason they kind of have feelings towards each other feels natural, it doesn't feel forced. It's not like they just pick two characters out of a bag and gone, you'll do. Quicksilver I prefer in this film. I didn't really like him in Days of Future Past too much. He had a really cool sequence and a few good lines, but really was a gimmick. It was just there for that one slow-mo sequence, and the rest of the film he wasn't there, and he wasn't really a character. In this film, Quicksilver's a character, he gets a backstory, he gets more time on screen, he's used to better effect, and he becomes a part of the team. He's not just, hi, I'm Quicksilver, and off he goes. It's better. I think I really enjoyed that. The tension between Captain America and Iron Man is there. It does come to blows at points. You can feel Civil War building. At the end they're kind of happy with each other again, but it's the kind of feeling of, well, when extreme circumstances come, they'll be acting the same way, and how they'll set up Civil War, what will happen in Civil War, to bring that out again, I'm very much looking forward to. So that's the one thing he did set up really well, is Civil War, and there's kind of hints at Infinity War obviously in there as well, being an Avengers movie. And really, the new Avengers team is set up at the end. Now what's interesting obviously is you get this whole new team of Avengers, but they don't have an Avengers movie before Infinity War, so it'll be interesting to see how they use them in the other movies, possibly Civil War or any of the others that are coming out, to build their characters, whether they have cameos, whether they have sort of secondary parts in other films. Obviously Civil War I imagine will be a big one, sort of secondary obviously to Captain America. And talking of the new Avengers, obviously the Vision I really liked. I like the way they played him. I like his sort of birth scene. It's very sort of conflicted between everybody. It's like, oh my god, should we bring him, should we not? It's great. It's really well played, and Paul Bettany has this kind of benevolence about him, which is really engaging and fantastic. So yeah, he's brilliant, and he has this one moment during his birth scene, which is just like, oh my goodness! If they capitalise on that in future films, that could be really cool. So I'm not going to tell you what it is, because, you know, spoiler, but I'll watch out for it, because it's great. And Hawkeye also, talking about characters, gets a bit more character development in this. He gets a bit more backstory, and he humanises a bit more, so he feels more part of the team. So overall, yeah, really enjoyable film. Great sequel, great action, great humour. A few things, like I say, the film just felt like it came out of nowhere. But other than that, I really enjoyed this film. And I definitely recommend it. I'll probably give it 7.5 out of 10, just because there are the few things that I mentioned, like it just coming out of nowhere and being completely just, what on earth is that? Why is Ultron in existence? Why have they just jumped into the team? But everything else and the way Whedon does it just brings it back for me. So yeah, great film, definitely worth watching. Now, if you want to see or listen to a longer version of me talking about this film with my friend Warren, you know, if you're having trouble sleeping and you want to listen to me talk about Avengers Age of Ultron for an hour, there's a link below to an hour-long podcast that we did the other day. That is spoilerific though, so don't go into it if you don't want spoilers for the movie. Spoilers start about 20 minutes in though, so you know you can listen to the first bit and decide whether or not you want to carry on. But yeah, thanks for watching, and you know, subscribe. Cheers.